Masai Mara stretches across the boundary where tall grasses meet fractured riverbeds. The landscape shifts with the seasons, expanding with the rains, narrowing during dry spells, and reshaping as migration patterns unfold. Here, ecosystems are not defined by geography, they are shaped by movement. Tracks barely etched into the ground are already masked by a new layer of dust. Each herd carves a new path, pulling the region's rhythm in a different direction. A toppled shrub exposes tangled roots and damp soil signs of an elephant searching for water. Down by the lower banks, antelope change course, veering away from over-trampled ground. A single lunge from a leopard perched above halts the alarm birds for a few silent seconds. The flow never settles, and every species holds a role in keeping it intact. Elephants dig out water holes that draw in layer upon layer of life. Lions redistribute pressure across the migrating herds, keeping prey density in balance. Zebra lead the way. Giraffes stand guard. Vultures complete the cycle by clearing remains. Everything connects through an unbroken chain of reactions. A shift in direction by a buffalo herd pushes antelope to seek shelter elsewhere. A moment of hesitation from a warthog delays an entire section of the riverbank from moving in to drink. No creature stands outside that flow. Every movement, no matter how slight, reshapes the system. And so we begin this observation, link by link, to witness a living, breathing Masai Mara. Across the plains of Masai Mara, shallow hoof grooves sketch soft lines in the soil. Short grasses ripple with the wind, revealing fresh layers pressed flat by moving herds. In this steady wave of movement, grazers keep instinctive spacing patterns shaped by countless seasons. Every sign suggests the system is holding its form. But lower in the light, where bands of dust drift just above ground level, a separate force marks its claim. Lions lie pressed flat against the earth, unmoving for long stretches. Each individual positions itself near depressions, using shade and natural hollows to stay hidden. Their gaze remains fixed, locked on the lead edge of the zebra herd advancing. Their formation follows no strict line, each spot chosen based on wind direction and familiar passive prey. Without sound, they already understand their next move and who takes it. As the zebra pass, the formation subtly loosens. A slight gap opens. The lion at the center tenses, altering its breath. Grasses ahead lean under its weight. Then the pounce, a precise burst, slicing through the herd just as its rhythm falters. From both sides, lions press in to steer the herd. They don't form a circle, only need to block the retreat with two tight arcs along the edges. Each move aims to shift the prey away from its original escape line. A push from the side sends the target off course. Ahead lies dry ground with sparse cover, no soft layer beneath to absorb momentum. The kill zone was chosen long before the herd sensed the danger. The first contact doesn't aim to finish, just to offset the prey's balance. It stumbles briefly, rhythm broken. A second lion closes from behind, clamps around the midsection. Pressure spreads through the body. The animal collapses sideways. No prolonged chase, just a clean, efficient end. Around the fallen prey, a biological center begins to form. Scavenger birds start circling. Hyenas appear from the downwind. The lions remain watching, waiting. They linger at the edges, observing reactions from the scavengers. Order holds through distance and eye contact. Every species knows its share and knows when to stay put. As the scent spreads, grasses near the kill site are flattened. Blood seeps into the soil, drawing insects and ground-level scavengers. A temporary ecological node forms brief, but enough to trigger local responses. Once the lions move on, the ground bears the imprint, deep indentations, knotted grass. The surface won't recover quickly, but the loosened soil becomes a seedbed. Dropped grass seeds take root with the next rains. The migration path shifts. Zebra avoid the scent-marked ground, veering toward patches of regrowth. This detour opens space behind an opportunity for other species to move in. Antelope, buffalo, even migratory birds fill the new corridor. Lighter grazers begin reaching into the lower vegetation layers. Each route change spreads outward a cascading effect, forcing the ecosystem to adapt. Lions don't hunt on a set schedule. They move with their prey, adjusting with rainfall and seasonal shifts. This flexibility reshapes the hunting grounds over time, keeping the prey dynamic. That constant flux keeps instincts sharp. Herds avoid lingering too long, giving the land moments to heal. As a result, biomass isn't stripped bare like in systems with weaker hunting pressure. Each lion strike gives the grasslands time to reset. Old zones rest, new areas emerge, and the cycle renews without rigidity. This makes lions more than just apex predators. They are unseen anchors in the migration web. Their reach extends far beyond the grasp of any one hunt. Each time they move, the flow of life changes course. Within the pride, roles reflect structure. Older lions handle approach angles. Younger ones learn by watching and doing, not by orders. Coordination builds from repetition, not command. When a hunting zone becomes too familiar, lions abandon it. They leave behind disruption, but that pause allows the land to breathe. By the time they return, the herds have changed, and the cycle begins anew. No species guides Mara's tempo like lions. They open hunting corridors and close consumption loops, setting the stage for what follows. Each hunt, each withdrawal, another reset for the grasslands. In the dense, ever-shifting pulse of Masai Mara, lions are the oscillating current. Thanks to them, the rhythm holds, and renewal always finds its way back. Scattered treetops cast dappled light across the Masai Mara grasslands, where a spotted form glides like a flicker between broken patches of shade. Balanced on a slanted trunk, the leopard holds steady high enough to survey, low enough to remain unseen. The world below stays quiet. Herd animals spread loosely, showing no signs of alarm. But in this middle tier of the ecosystem, the leopard's presence changes how other species behave. Each time it moves, the grasses sway faintly, as if pushed by an unseen weight. It doesn't rush. Its movements stay smooth, slipping through shafts of light between the canopy. The wind stays at its back. Its view covers natural paths ahead. Every step is measured, shaped by terrain, scent flow, and prey direction. In its hunt, the leopard doesn't scatter the herd. It waits for prey to drift from the center. An opening isn't the goal, it's the condition. Each leap is tight, just enough to strike without disturbing the rest. After the takedown, the leopard doesn't linger. It drags the carcass in an arc away from the path just traveled. No crushed grass, no scent trail, no signals left behind. Its body hugs the ground as it climbs. Each step up the tree is deliberate. Height isn't for dominance, it's for distance, away from the scramble that follows any exposed kill. The limbs of the tree become a storage ledge, airy enough to breathe, hidden enough to shield from below. Here it feeds in portions, over time. It doesn't consume all at once, doesn't call others in, doesn't leave a strong scent. Each return to the carcass comes with care covering it, adjusting airflow, keeping the scent from dispersing. The ground beneath the tree remains undisturbed. No scavenger patrols, no hyenas trailing, no vultures circling. The leopard's hunting ground holds its silence for days. That quiet behavior has biological consequences. Microbes grow in light layers, not in full bloom. Scavenger birds arrive in pairs, never in flocks. Insects come late climbing up, not gathering below. This independent hunting style creates a mid-level biological tier. Below, buffalo, zebra, hyenas. Beneath that, the foundation of soil life. But in between, only the leopard, absorbing, breaking down, and recycling at a slower rhythm. While lions expand across the plains with their prides, pushing out wide horizontal zones, leopards keep their impact narrow and vertical. They manage space in 3 dimensions, but only influence a sliver. Because of this, the food chain avoids both rupture and overflow. The grasses below stay firm. The roots remain untouched. The insect cycles in the soil continue undisturbed. These behaviors aren't just about guarding a kill. They maintain the biological rhythm of the area. Without the leopard, leftover meat drops to the ground, spreading scent, triggering microbial surges. But suspended in the branches, the decay slows. The land has time to absorb it. That's why the leopard acts as a stabilizer for the middle layer. It doesn't create chaos. It doesn't trigger collapse. By holding the carcass, it holds the microbes. It slows the cycle, reducing overlap between competitive species. Even its territory is modest. It moves among tree clusters, never staying long. It doesn't force herds to flee or make other predators change their routines. Its solitary life eases interspecies tension. No chasing, no marking, no drawing others back to the same point. Every hunt is self-contained. Every stop leaves only a soft trace. Because of that, grazers don't constantly alter their paths. They aren't driven into sharp detours or rapid shifts. The ground-dwelling species keep their usual pace. The leopard doesn't stand out in the network of interaction. But that silence is its strength. It holds balance in a soft way, not by force, not by command. But by helping life absorb friction without fracture. Masai Mara needs fast strikes from lions. It needs cleanup crews like hyenas. But between them, the leopard acts as a buffer holding the excess, minimizing spread, and redistributing life quietly. The spaces it leaves behind stay intact. No trampling, no pushing, no stirring. Trees keep their growth. Soil keeps its looseness. Grass has a chance to rebound, not get stripped bare. The leopard's presence doesn't reroute migrations, but it gives worn areas a chance to recover. No crowd, no noise, just enough to hold the thread between layers. By living quietly, the leopard preserves the order of open ground, where everything can be seen, claimed, or fought for, but it chooses the space in between, quiet, close, and slow. Across the open land during the dry season, long cracks stretch through thin patches of grass. The pale ground bears soft depressions, early signs that a large herd once passed. Elephants don't follow fixed routes. Their movement often tracks angled light, weaving through sparse vegetation and patches of loosened soil where roots have begun to rise. One individual pauses. Its trunk lowers, sweeping slowly over a shallow dip. Dust lifts, then swirls toward the center. At that spot, the surface begins to shift. Aged roots are exposed. The trunk circles methodically, pushing the soil aside from both flanks. Moments later, moisture starts to gather. Water seeps upward as if squeezed from beneath the earth. What once looked like a meaningless hole instantly becomes a point of attraction. From above, insects arrive first. At ground level, a soft rustling begins the natural call of amphibians sensing water. Higher still, birds circle in wide arcs. Omnivores trace the muddy edges in search of opportunity. A fresh thread of life unfolds. But the elephants don't linger. Once the source is exposed, they move on. The waterhole slowly drains, but the ripple effect continues. The remaining mud becomes a cradle for wind-blown grass seeds. With the rain, shoots rise from the very spot once torn open. Each pause leaves behind change, quiet, unforced, but etched deep enough for the earth to remember. Along the route, vegetation shifts color. Shrubs snap low, exposing older stems. Shallow channels redirect water along new lines. Elephants don't shape the landscape by staying, they shape it by passing through. A leaning bush, a pressed down patch of soil, an old water trail redirected. Each change creates space for smaller lives. Rodents nest in the hollows. Reptiles seek the shaded edges. Birds lay eggs on fallen limbs. When the rains arrive, every area touched by elephants holds water longer. What looks like scattered footprints becomes a massive water rooting system. Each depression holds drops, guiding them into the soil's cracks. Below the surface, leftover moisture from previous digging reawakens young roots. Life continues underground even after the land above is dried. Elephants don't search randomly. Their trunks detect softness hidden below, reaching places other species miss. Led individuals act as testers. The rest follow. Every herd finds its rhythm through instinctive roles. In crowded areas, when too many gather at once, later arrivals often split off. This divides the terrain, easing pressure on any single spot. The result? A wide transition zone where vegetation has time to regrow between disturbances. Every time elephants leave, they create a new access path for others. Zebras follow their tracks. Buffalo rest in the shallow basins. Birds feed at the water's edge. Even predators adjust. When prey settle near these roots, the hunters are drawn in close. The elephant's stability doesn't come from standing still. It comes from setting off layered reactions. They don't chase, don't hunt, yet they trigger motion and interaction all around them. During the rains, former digging sites become shallow ponds. Water gathers faster, soil stays moist longer. That's when seasonal breeders move in early. And all of it traces back to earlier steps taken by elephants. In ecological terms, elephants are infrastructure, invisible at first glance but irreplaceable. No other animal pulls water from the ground. No other species lays the foundation for a new growing cycle. No other creature sustains recovery over such a long stretch. Every step they take, every trunk pressed into the soil, an act of design. Among creatures that live by the chase, elephants exist by reshaping the origin of life. They don't break the system. They rework it piece by piece, guided by season, by drought, by rainfall, by shared behavior. Every place they pass becomes a waypoint for the next layer of life. Every area they disturb becomes a seedbed for the cycle to begin again. And every hole dug for water redraws the path for all that follows. Masai Mara owes much of its rhythm of renewal to a species that never hunts. That's why every water path begins with a trunk. A soft rustle at the edge of the grass ripples across the plain. Heads lift almost in unison. The entire lower layer of life shifts into alert. In the middle of a headwind, the tall figure of a giraffe holds still. No lowering, no turning. Its neck rises straight, and its eyes scan slowly across a sun-dappled tree line. No signals are given, yet every subtle shift in its posture is enough for nearby species to adjust. Across the Masai Mara grasslands, giraffes serve a singular role. They don't hunt, they don't compete for ground, but every time one lifts its head, the life below begins to move. When the dry fringe of the woodland begins to recede, when grasses shorten and soil hardens after strong winds, giraffe herds often appear in the most open zones. From those spots, even the smallest ground movement reflects in their behavior. A slow neck turn and birds adjust course. A pause in stance and antelope realign. Among grazers, no species reaches that vantage point. They don't need to rush. Reactions unfold before danger arrives. At watering spots, giraffes act with the greatest caution. Open water ahead, crosswind behind. They spread their legs, lower their bodies, and lean their necks forward, exposing the full length of their frame. For just a few brief moments, the entire area goes still. Other grazers pause, waiting for cues in that posture. If the giraffe lowers its neck and stays steady, the rest follow. If it hesitates halfway, the herds hold back. No one announces anything, but all understand. Their body shape allows them to see through scattered grass clump spots where ambush is most likely. From that height, they track every irregular movement across the open plain. Unlike species that sound alarms, giraffes warn by remaining still. That stillness becomes the signal. When they move, they don't huddle together. They spread out, each covering a separate arc of space. This spread creates a natural surveillance network. Antelope, zebra, even buffalo rely on their oversight. Where vision at ground level is limited, height becomes a survival tool. Giraffes don't attempt control, yet the ecosystem adjusts to their every movement. In dry border zones where others hesitate, giraffes go first. They scan the open with no sudden marks left behind. Each step is slow. Their necks sweep wide. Their gaze moves with the rhythm of shifting grass. That caution builds a temporary safety zone. Along its edge, other species choose where to pause. Where to rest and when to move forward. They simply follow the tallest, clearest silhouette available. No predator crosses that layer of watchfulness easily. Leopards avoid it. Hyenas don't get close. Wild dogs shift to other grounds, not from fear, but from exposure. Any movement attempts pass beneath an elevated gaze. From the way they stand, to how they turn their heads, to pauses in motion, giraffes give enough for prey below to reframe their structure. That's why giraffes become the signal towers for the lower tiers. During long dry spells, they travel farther, crossing sparse grasslands to check what water remains. Never hurried, but always consistent. Where they stand, birds that feed on insects, young antelope, and small rodents often gather. Not for the shade, but for the signal. There, movement slows, pressure softens. Each morning, while the winds are still gentle, giraffes are already in the clearings. No calls are made, but the sight of that tall, calm, quiet figure tells every herd it's time to move. In a land without fences or markers, this species becomes a living landmark. As they pass through an area, they leave behind subtle signs: grass left untouched, bushes unruffled, soil still damp. And with just that, those who follow know which direction to choose. Not by maps, but by memory of where a tall neck once stood still. In Masai Mara, migration isn't guided only by grass. It follows the rhythm of animals capable of restoring balance. Giraffes are not the strongest species, but they are the ones that force others to change. Not through hunting, not through competition, but by holding space, holding the view, holding herd structure, holding safe distance. And by doing so, they shield the more vulnerable without confrontation. Ecosystems don't thrive on hunters alone. They depend on creatures who pause at the right time, look in the right direction, and give the layers beneath them a chance to adapt. Giraffes do that with height and with silence. Wind sweeps upstream, pushing dust from the lowlands across sparse grasses. Along the soft riverbank, a line of zebras stretches out, bodies angled toward the water. The lead individual stops in the sunken sand. Head lifted, eyes scanning the river's surface. Under slanted light, black and white stripes reflect against tree shadows, blending into the landscape. Behind it, clusters fan out, forming a wide arc near the water's edge. There's no pushing, no crowding. Each shift in the lead zebra sends a ripple through the group. The riverbank receives the first step slowly. Water splits to either side, forming circular swirls. Each hoofstep stirs a small wave. The zebra's shape glides through the current uneven motion, stripes blending into flow. Splashes rise with each stride, briefly masking the forms behind. Below the surface, crocodiles wait in silence, but stirred up silt and reflected sunlight distort their view. The herd crosses in broken waves with no clear gaps. They clump together, keeping pace, holding formation. When the first group reaches the far bank, the next surge follows instantly. As soon as zebras open a path, antelope gather on the opposite shore. They line up along the edge, watching the churned water. No leader steps forward, yet movement spreads outward. Zebra water testing becomes the cue. Every time they push ahead, others find safety in their trail. The migration doesn't begin because of scarcity, but from pressure building in grazed out zones. When short grass runs thin and pale ground flashes under strong light, zebras start to move. They're not driven by conquest, but by the need to breathe life back into old pastures. Each time they leave an area, young grass gets a chance to regrow, and small ground dwellers reset their space. The herd travels with the wind, guided by the tilt of the grass and bird activity. Their route shifts constantly with the terrain. Zebras don't seek the greenest spot, they follow a pace that suits the group. When they cross, the next herd glides into the track, already carved: no jostling, no scouting. In the predator-prey chain, zebras sit at the front of the ripple. Any change in their formation forces ambush groups to react. Lions don't chase right away, they wait along choke points. One sudden turn changes spacing between individuals, opening room for both attack and escape. In the water, crocodiles don't choose prey by size, but by rhythm. A moment of hesitation pulls one out of alignment, but the stripes and steady movement make targets harder to lock. Zebras aren't the strongest, but their actions unlock the pulse of life. No one forces them to lead, but their presence sets the path. When they stop, others stop. When they cross, trailing herds shift together. In the grassland, the herd moves like a wave. From cautious testing to the final stride, they generate a living rhythm. No calls, no dramatic signals, only hoof prints left in the damp sand. Those tracks become the trail, and in the days to come, they guide the migration line for others. The ecosystem doesn't run on power alone. It runs on chain reactions, often sparked by the least noticed. Zebras don't lead with force, but with action. A retreat, a river crossing, these define the movement behind. Thanks to their forward motion, the grazing system avoids conflict and maintains seasonal balance. After they pass, the riverbank holds deep impressions. Old grass is pressed down. The soil turns soft, ready to catch the next rainfall. Seeds shaken from their coats fall as they cross, clinging to the mud's edge, waiting for the next growth to rise. So each cautious test of water doesn't just open a path, it begins a whole new life cycle for the grassland. As the soil drains, narrow tracks stretch across sunken ground. Deep hoof prints mark patches of mud still holding moisture. On the boundary between tall grass and open plain, a dense formation fans outward. No noise, just slow shifts in bulk, muscle, and weight leaning in one direction. Every time the herd of Cape buffalo turns, the landscape responds. Grass flattens under their weight. Water ripples from shallow pools. New lines streak across the soil. Their unity doesn't rely on commands. A glance, a lean, and the whole mass adjusts. Some individuals hold the line at the edge of the mire, forming a wall between dry land and thick mud. In exposed flats where signs of danger appear early, the herd tightens its formation. Outer individuals take the front, When stirred, the center holds circling inward. This shape reduces outside pressure and protects the young or weaker species hiding near the flanks. There's no rush, but the direction is always clear. The herd moves in a wide band, shifting the upper layer of soil as it goes. Water gathers in deeper hoof prints, holding moisture after they pass. Low grass sprouts along the path, hugging each rut in their wake. Smaller grazers move along the margins, using the herd's motion as a safety buffer. They don't push inside nor drift too far. They travel in step without disrupting the flow. Buffalo presence creates temporary corridors of movement for the prey community around them. When midday light burns down, the herd compresses into a dense mass. Large bodies press tight, forming pockets of shade where small animals find shelter. When predators appear, the buffalo do not scatter. The herd leans as one, applying counter pressure toward the threat. A head turn, a forward step. That alone is often enough to make an ambush shift its position. They don't chase or charge, but the synchronized weight of the herd makes the ground itself feel defended. Leopards, wild dogs, even hyenas circle wide. Not out of fear, but because uniform presence offers no break, no opening to breach. Even lions must wait for a split in the group before they strike. At seasonal water sites, buffalo carve long trenches in their passing. These hold pockets of rainwater sustaining the breeding rhythms of ground-dwelling species. Soft grasses spring up along the trench edges. Fungi and microbes follow in thin lines. These paths don't become trails. They become life veins scattered, subtle, but essential for the cycles to come. Even after the herd disappears over the horizon, the prints they leave still hold moisture. Shallow plains begin to recover from those marks. That's where antelope pause. Birds follow. Invertebrates reconnect the biological web. It all starts with a silent shift in direction. And in the vast canvas of the Mara, where the contest for survival plays out by the minute, sometimes a single turn from a buffalo herd is enough to draw the boundary between chaos and order. Not with a charge, not with a stomp, but with the power of a whole formation moving as one, clearing a way for life to continue behind them. The water lies still. Light flickers under the reeds hugging the shoreline. Across this stagnant wetland, gentle ripples roll as if the boundary between land and water hasn't fully settled. A pair of eyes rise near the muddy edge, motionless. The body remains submerged silent, leaving the surface untouched. A group of antelope stands paused where grass meets mud. Hooves shift faintly, eyes fix on the waterline. The lower tier holds its silence. No calls, no movement. Everything waits. The crocodile drifts slowly, holding position in the current. Each shift barely stirs the water. power funnels through its lower body fins tight to the riverbed. Every advance spans only the length of a reed stem, leaving nothing behind. When the crocodile finally closes in, no sign warns of what's coming. A thrust from below the body bursts upward right at the edge once it thought safe. No buildup, no sound. Water erupts. Muddy swirls scatter across the surface. Animals in the back retreat, pushing toward drier ground. The front clears out, leaving a wide, empty channel. Only the churned water remains, glowing in the sunlight. Success isn't required. Even a failed strike shifts the system. Next groups approach slower, stop farther back, and reroute toward the outer edge. Crocodiles don't just hunt, they slow down life. They extend caution, and indirectly they give others time to reposition. With the simple act of waiting, they anchor behavioral boundaries. They don't show up often, but when they do, every other creature accounts for them. No strike needs to succeed to make an impact. All it takes is one lunge, and the whole herd pulls back. That single beat is enough for the system to restructure itself. In a land where water is the ultimate currency, the one who holds it longest holds the rhythm of life around it. In the Mara, that creature is the crocodile. A dust spiral settles. On darkened soil still holding the heat, a vulture glides in with momentum, circling low over the carcass lying on its side. They keep distance, no pushing, no haste. Bare eyes scan the cracked earth below, slowly confirming the strands of muscle still intact. The lead bird walks the perimeter in short, deliberate steps, stopping at the sunken belly. A thin breeze rises with the slanting light carrying the last trace of breath from dead tissue. Its beak touches a dried tear in the hide, leaving no residue. Each tug exposes gray flesh, pulling away the deepest rot from within. The flock follows in a fanned formation, no jostling, no disruption. Each bird approaches only the sections already breached, never tearing into parts not yet broken down. Amid death, every lowered head becomes a cleansing motion. Slimy membranes are peeled back. Fluid seeps out and dries quickly under the angled sun. Only the wind rustling through feathers, the rip of tissue, and the faint sound of bone shifting beneath their claws. Each time a head lifts, the scene below changes from fresh to pale, from pale to bare. The pooling residue disappears, leaving a dry, scentless field. Under harsh sunlight, all that remains are white flecks of bone and dark hide flattened into the ground. The vultures pull back, no glance behind, no scraps left to sour the air. Short grasses begin to rise again, closing over the site. Wind passes cleanly now, carrying no foul smell, lifting no trace of decay. During migration, when bodies fall across the plains, vultures serve as the final filter, preventing collapse in the chain of life. They end death, cut off contagion, and clear disease before it spreads. Vultures don't take the first share, nor the last. They handle what's left in between the half-eaten, the high-risk, the decaying core. Each withdrawal from the scene locks a biological link, keeping the living system from crossing into contamination. Livestock aren't drained. Grazers maintain their paths between water points. The vegetation cycle resets without interruption. Overhead, new vultures begin circling the next site. No warning calls, no searching glances. They need only wind, dust, and the faint scent of death to begin again. Here in the heart of Mara, where no carcass is left to vanish unnoticed, vultures are the final curtain drawn before the afternoon light spills across a field made whole again. Beneath the dry dust lies a web of overlapping signs. A sunken patch of earth reveals where water was once uncovered. Bent grass points downwind, marking ground once tread. Each animal appears at its rightful moment within this living network. Lions shape the rhythm of the hunt containing grazers before they spread too wide. Leopards reclaim the scent, reworking leftovers from the middle layer. Giraffes shift behaviors with posture alone from a distance. Elephants unearth the land and with it, water and nutrients for dozens of species. Vultures close the loop so that kills don't become infection sites. Each is part of the same order. What seems like scattered behavior once connected becomes a rhythm of survival. Drink, watch, hunt, guard, retreat, restore. The Mara thrives not on numbers, but on how each species adjusts everything around it. No need for communication, no fences. Yet life still stacks in layers from riverbed to canopy, sustained by timing, tension, and instinct. Thank you for joining us on this first step into the wild heartbeat of the ecosystem. If these frames helped you feel nature's hidden strength, leave a like and share this journey with others. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell so you don't miss what comes next. See you in the next episode, where nature continues writing its own story in rhythms we've just begun to understand.